This graduate of Clearwater Central Catholic once stole his sister's car to take a date to Clearwater Beach, only to find his mom awake doing laundry when he returned home at 2 a.m. Welcome to the stage, Head of Destination Marketing for the Americas of TripAdvisor, Stephen Paganelli.
Good evening. I either have the best or the worst spot in this agenda. And although I'm Steve with TripAdvisor, I'm not the Steve with TripAdvisor, so I'll have to introduce Joe to our CEO at another time. But I did color my slides with Crayola, so I at least have that advance. None of us spoke in advance of this presentation, so a little bit of what Will said is actually the setup for what I'm going to share with you. And Heard It Through the Grapevine, my lovely little walk-on song, was actually in some ways the first social network. It was basically the practice of hanging out around the post office during the Civil War to get news from the front and hear what was going on there. Fast forward 120 years or so, and the year before Creedence Clearwater Revival recorded its version of Heard It Through the Grapevine, the military set out to create the first social network. It took 30 years, but as we heard from Will, lots followed very quickly. TripAdvisor, Facebook, YouTube, all of those different things. And then comes 2016, and the phrase fake news hits us all. Accusations of election meddling, fudging performance numbers, the loss of youth, data leakage, all of these various things occurred impacting social media sites. And social media were kind of in the crosshairs and have been right up through this week, if anyone's watching the news. So it made some people kind of scratch their heads and wonder why, when TripAdvisor announced with pretty great fanfare actually in September that we were returning to our social roots, why we would choose to do that now of all times in this particular climate, why we would raise our head into that and go down that path. And the answer to that is multifaceted, actually. We were hearing from a lot of our users that they wanted to be more connected, not just reading reviews and opinions of other travelers who they didn't necessarily know, but to their friends and family, to influencers they followed. They wanted to create their own communities, even with brands that they love. And they wanted to be inspired. TripAdvisor has become sort of a ubiquitous part of the travel planning process. It's a research tool. People can scour lots and lots of information and content, as we heard Joe talk about earlier. But it wasn't necessarily, and hasn't been necessarily, the most inspiring of sites. A lot of the inspiration on TripAdvisor comes really from some of the advertisers who weave stories with the photos that they post or in the ads that they run. They also wanted to maximize their travel and dining experiences. After all, as travelers, that's the reason we use TripAdvisor. We want to draw some confidence about the decisions we're about to make, sometimes for that once-a-year family vacation. And they wanted to have more opportunities to do that, to learn about the hidden gems, what's new within a particular destination, things that they aren't necessarily always finding within the review content that exists there. And all of us want to live like the influencers we follow, and ideally discover new ones who think like us, who have similar interests to us, and from whom we can learn new ideas. And ultimately, again, sort of as Nate said earlier, we want a more personalized experience. Now, consumers, when they were answering this question and giving us this feedback, they weren't thinking about big data, they weren't thinking about machine learning or artificial intelligence, but that's exactly what they were telling us they wanted. They want us to surface content that is relevant to their interests, to their desires, to their experiences, and ultimately to the travel dreams that they're looking to have fulfilled. The other thing that positioned us for kind of rethinking TripAdvisor was trust. And as we saw in one of the earlier slides, trust has sort of been wavering in general, but particularly across social channels. But travelers repeatedly speak to the trust that they have in the content that they find on TripAdvisor. 98% of travelers in a recent Focusrite survey indicated that they find the review content on TripAdvisor aligns with the experiences that they have. They also increasingly are turning to TripAdvisor for attraction information and restaurant information to, again, validate decisions and make sure that they're making the best choice for themselves. And at the end of the day, travel is one of the things that we go to social for most. It's the part of social that we enjoy most. A recent study suggested that we derive 8 weeks of happiness from the simple act of planning a trip. That's before we even travel on that trip. Just planning it gets us excited, gets the adrenaline flowing about what's to come. And yet, increasingly within the social environment, that travel content is sort of pushed out by the pet tricks that we love and the politics that we don't love. And so it's harder and harder to get to the types of content that we really do enjoy and that really give us a charge. So that takes us to the new TripAdvisor, and this little video will kind of showcase what that looks like.
I love planning travel with the new TripAdvisor. And getting great advice and ideas in my personal travel feed. I can follow my friends and travel experts for recommendations that match my interests. Hey, check this out. So I can discover exactly what's right for me, like the perfect barbecue joint.
Yeah, we have that for you.
Great, I'll save it. The travel feed makes it easy to save ideas and plan trips together.
We gotta see the show though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No matter what your interests are, your travel feed keeps you inspired. Oh my God, we have to stay here. Like a review of a great hotel from your friend Debbie. And because you're on TripAdvisor, you can plan and book all in one place.
Yeah, that was great.
Welcome to the all-new TripAdvisor, and say hello to your personal travel feed. Where will you go next?
So that's the new TripAdvisor, and it launched about a month ago. How many of you have been on TripAdvisor and sort of seen the new consumer experience there? Okay, maybe 40% of you or so. The initial feedback is really powerful. Travelers like the fact that it is more than just information about individual points of interest, and instead it's about the stories that really make travel come alive for them. It enables them to find and access a lot of different content from a lot of different places, and it uses the benefits of machine learning and artificial intelligence to surface the right content at the right time. So that article you read about 3 days in Savannah a year and a half ago might not have been very relevant to you at that point, but now that you're planning a trip there next month, that article that gets surfaced because you're engaging with Savannah content suddenly makes a lot more sense for you. And the initial participation has been strong as well. This is actually from several weeks ago. 76 individual publishers or brands. You saw some of them in that video, like National Geographic Traveler, Travel Channel, GoPro, 900 influencers, and a ton of content that's being added as well to create a more robust and, again, personal experience for travelers. So what does this all mean for you as businesses in the room? How many of you have claimed your business on TripAdvisor? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, actually a pretty small percentage. So for those of you that have, your listing continues to be the page where travelers access information about you. It's where they submit their reviews. It's where they find photos and information about your locations. The management center, where you manage that listing, continues to be the place that you do that. It's where you can respond to reviews. It's where you can see how you're performing against your competitive set. The action for you today is to go on and to explore it as a consumer. Kick the tires, as it were. It's a month old. It's going to continue to evolve pretty significantly, I think, over the next 12 months or so. But this is a great opportunity to kind of see how the site functions and prepare for how you'll be able to take advantage of some of the engagement that we're, again, already seeing from travelers. I encourage you to follow me and my colleague, Carol Johnson, who's here in the audience as well. for our experiences. And I'm going to close with just kind of a fun video about a different way that reviews were used on this British talk show.
This is a genuine review, and this is someone's review of visiting Stonehenge. Have you been to Stonehenge?
I've not yet, no. I've heard about it. It's my time. Okay. Just a load of old rocks with a greedy price tag. Don't waste your money, spend it on a Big Mac or shoes for the kid.
That was very Elton John. Yeah. Okay.
Shoes for the kid.
Maybe one more. I think we have time for one last one.
Westminster Abbey. Have you been to Westminster Abbey?
Oh, lovely. No, I have been to Westminster Abbey.
Okay, well then this is someone's review of their trip to Westminster
I
Abbey.
feel like this one has to be very like classical.
If you could go classic on this, I think that would be appropriate because it's historical.
Great acoustics in there, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh. Big church, dead famous people, queue forever to get in, and saw no ghosts whatsoever.
Pretty fun stuff.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to Slido, but I think that what's on everyone's mind is thinking the same thing, and I'm just gonna throw it at you and let you respond. TripAdvisor is trying to be the new Facebook.
Actually, I wouldn't say so. Facebook does a lot of different things. I'm not going to abandon my Facebook. I talk about my kid's birthday, those kinds of things. What we are trying to be, and I think what we're better positioned than anyone else to be, is the social channel for travel. 50% of the American population travels. 50% don't. They don't ever take a trip that involves an overnight stay. 2/3 of all global travelers are on TripAdvisor. And again, travel, when you think about the things that we enjoy most in social, travel is one of the things at the top of the list. So it makes sense to have a place where you can, as I had on that last slide, travel is kind of a daily habit. Whether we're planning a trip or not, we're thinking about travel. 82% of us start thinking about our next trip while we're on our current trip.
Then I'll jump down to the third one and let you have the final word. How will it be different then?
Again, I think the singular focus on travel. I don't expect that you're going to see, people posting photos of, necessarily their drunken brawl on a bachelorette party or bachelor party. I think what you'll see is kind of the continued sort of thoughtful kinds of content that exist on TripAdvisor today, but again, appealing to that travel audience and that travel mindset.
We will look forward to seeing it. Nice round of applause for Steve and TripAdvisor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.